Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack. PB.
Like little Rosetta, it just pulled out that guitar and how she acquired her guitar knowledge. And so it's not everything, but it is about how her community, the sounds that she heard, and then she's trying to emulate those on her guitar. Like everybody in her neighborhood influenced her. And so she's using the sewing machine sounds from, her neighbor. And so all those people are mentioned as part of the contributory, part of little Rosetta's story. And so I do think that's really important. And I think it's, again, circling back to this whole idea of which was one of the questions, and I was going to end with that anyway. So I'm gonna circle back to that building community and fostering inclusivity, that music is a real gift for being able to do that. And I think picture books too, which is the whole reason for PBJamz, pulling those together. And Jolene, when you were talking about that, like music brings us together and picture books bring us together. So wowza when you put those two things together and you have picture books about music, and musical picture books and picture books that you can sing and picture books about musicians, then we're just doubling the inclusivity and the community. Thoughts about that?
No, I mean, it's absolutely on point.
Agreed.
Absolutely on point. And I think, especially with the inclusivity piece, I'm always going to go back to access and equity, because when we think about some of our greatest musicians that we study and talk about, a lot of them didn't have the access and equity that they probably could have needed to have been propelled much faster to wherever they ended up being. And I think that entry point with the books helps children see themselves, of course, which is what we want through those stories, and seeing, hey, I might not be able to take, music lessons in this fancy, expensive studio, but I can still sing in my school, or I can sing at home, right? I think there's that, it's an entryway. It's a springboard with books, with picture books, that I think we should always acknowledge.
Yeah, and like books, like I was thinking of a book I read recently called Listen, How Evelyn Glennie, a deaf girl, changed percussion. And just for kids to be able to see that some kids can see themselves in that book and say, I can be involved in music, and this is available to me too. And it's really important.
That is a lovely book, and Evelyn Glennie is absolutely a musical superhero. We just talked about her 2 weeks ago, and the kids just are like, well, but if she couldn't hear, then how could she do music? And so, we talked about the very fact of how music is formed and the vibrations, and how your ears are not the only thing that takes in the vibrations, right? And so yes, on 1,000 different levels, they become, I was just listening, I don't know, who was I talking to? Empathy. We were talking about empathy and how picture books, sorry, I'm distracted. I was trying to remember. It was just watching a webinar. But anyway, she was talking about how picture books build empathy in children. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Melanie. How, not only do they see themselves, but if they don't see themselves, they see somebody different from them, then it builds that empathy. And then they're willing to befriend that person who's deaf. And, they may not have been had it not been for that book, right? They're willing to befriend that person who's different from them because they've lived a little tiny bit of that experience through that picture book.
So true.
Yeah.
Good point.
So good. I wish I could remember who said that. I would give them credit, but I just can't remember. I was just watching that. But yeah, building that empathy, building those social skills. Back to your SEL, Jolene, and that key point in your book, too much. I mean, that's a prime example. Such a beautiful book. It's so lovely. but it's a great example of teaching kids that, you know, we are all different and how we process things and see things are different, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, allowing kids to see themselves, like we've said, but allowing others who maybe haven't had that experience to have more understanding and compassion. And that's the school that I teach at is it's a private school. Most of my students are privileged kids, primarily white. And so it's super important for me to give them access to others' lives so that they
Mhm.
can better understand our world and be better human beings. So that's for me, um, where the majority of my teaching is, you know, like I'm pulling these topics, thinking of these kids, like how can I expand their worlds?
Yeah. Yeah, so important. Any other thoughts on that before we wrap things up?
This isn't completely related. Well, it's sort of connected, but I was thinking before we did this gathering, I started thinking about my own musical background
Mm.
and how you know, I played in bands for so long with the clarinet. And then when I got to high school, I got an opportunity to play with the civic orchestra, which was the town orchestra. And so the town invited high schoolers in. So it was a combination of high schoolers and adults playing together. And just that experience of being a kid, a student, but you're treated differently as a member of this group. You, I was just thinking, I don't know how to you know, connect this to picture books necessarily, but like that, just music itself builds this
Mm-hmm.
sense of your community is broader than maybe just the people you thought it was before. You know, it's not just your peers, it's the older adults that are part of your community, and it's, you know, it brings everybody together that way. But it is true that, you know, you are also the one who's like I'm privileged enough to have the clarinet as a kid, you know, to have access to that, and to have access to a town that has that sort of an opportunity. Um, so, you know, it's always part of the story too.
Yeah, and I think that's really the beauty, Melanie, of public education, right? Because I grew up in poverty. My dad worked, my mom did not. He worked a blue collar job. He was a meat cutter for a local grocery store. There were eventually 5 people in my family, and so money was tight, right? We did have a piano, like Rachel was saying, somebody gave us one. They got tired of it and they passed it along to us, but there was no money for lessons. I mean, I couldn't take lessons. I picked and plundered through little books and learned a few little things. And I hate that because I think I could have been an okay piano player, but I learned way too late and I really suck at it. I'm terrible. I'm truly, I mean, I'm not even good enough to say I play. Like I don't play. I'm really bad. But when I got into 6th grade, then there was the opportunity for band. And when I tell you that band was the absolute lifeline for me,
Yeah.
and not that my home life was terrible, but just when you get to be teenager, I was not an easy teenager, but band became my outlet, my family away from my family. It became a way to express myself. It became a way to deal with all those emotions. It was my way to get away from my family I mean, football games every Friday night, I got to go away and that was wonderful, but not just getting away, but getting away to something meaningful
Do
and
something.
important
Yeah.
that you were a
Yeah.
part of and that you
Yeah.
were creating something that was bringing joy and like all those pieces. But that's the beauty of public school, public education, because it does offer those kids that don't have the money for private lessons and they don't maybe have those big expensive instruments in their houses, but they can go to band and chorus and whatever in public school, and they're getting a fabulous music education without having to fork out a ton of money.
Mhm.
It's a lifesaver.
Yeah,
Literally
Yeah.
it is.
for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Band and theater too.
Yeah.
That's another space that has
Yes.
Yep.
that same purpose and feeling.
Yeah.
Love that boa.
I'm totally with you, Melanie. My whole dissertation background research agenda is musical theater and what it does for kids. And I think
Yeah.
just to add to that, we could all I have a story of how music has changed us. I think
Oh,
saying
absolutely.
saying that music saved us, changed our lives, really, it's not corny. It's true.
It's true.
And we just, we're preaching to ourselves here into the choir. And but I think, Tani, you have a wide enough reach with this, because it's not just everybody loves music. You've got a platform for education and picture books and stories, and the value of all of that. And so I think that's what's really incredible. And so, yeah, thank you for this wonderful platform to talk about all this. I don't know when you said you were going to wrap up, but I want to hear where you think PBJamz is going in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to force you into that segue.
Oh, and another part of
then
that,
you're just going to
Connie,
say bye and we're going to go. I want you to.
Yeah.
I want
I
you
also-
to,
I'm
and then
also
I'm going to like
curious.
email her a seafood boil recipe or get hers or something. So
I want to know
where
too,
where
like
is
how
this
long every episode takes you too. Like I want to know what Reiko is
Yeah.
asking, but like it seems like you put tons of time into each episode, because I look
Yep.
at all the lists and the resources you
Yep.
compile, and it's amazing to me.
Yep.
I don't have a time frame. I will say that originally when I was doing one a week, it got to a point where I couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I do want to do each book justice, and I want to provide resources that are really, really helpful. But I kind of put the Pinterest board and the YouTube playlist together kind of on the fly as I'm running. So I mean, I really don't have but I will say, I don't know. I have no idea for how much time. I just put in the time I think I need to do that book justice, and to feel like I'm, doing that author justice too, and giving them something that they can. I mean, my hope is that you guys are going to link them up on your websites and share them out that way, because my heart is not, I mean, PBJamz is not monetized, and I don't anticipate it ever being monetized. I don't want to do that. I sometimes do get a little envious. I have to I have to be totally honest. I get a little envious sometimes when I talk with people who are providing resources and they're getting paid to do that, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. You absolutely understand. But I don't want to do that, right?
Right, I don't,
I
yeah.
want this to be a gift, and I because it's a gift, I want it to be used, right?
Yep.
Nancy, we want people
Yes.
to take advantage of it.
Yep.
That's why it's here. And so I have no idea. I mean, I usually spend an hour, sometimes a little more. When it's Reika and me, we talk for a really long time because we talk about everything under the sun. But I spend at least hang on a second. I've got a call coming in. Give me just a second to get back here. I lost my camera. Okay, there you are. Okay, sorry. That phone call knocked everything off my screen. Like, oh. But I do spend, at least an hour with each author. I also, with the emailing back and forth, and then pulling together the teaching activities and the written part, the writing prompts and things. I mean, that's usually a couple of hours, and typing all that out. I mean, I would say probably at least 5 hours per episode, sometimes a lot more. Sometimes they're just super easy to find stuff, and it's just like, oh my gosh, here's all these amazing resources. And and the other thing is that so one thing I have toyed with, Reiko, to your question, is providing some supplemental resources that are for sale. When I did Valerie Bowling's book this past week, it's the episode that's up right now. And that book is so wonderful. Bing Bop Bam, Time to Jam. And it's a lovely, lovely book. But it is so specific in the instruments that it includes, and they're so varied that there is no way under the sun ever you're going to find all those instruments together in a space unless you create something. And this was the first time that I really thought, oh, dang, I wish I could provide this. I wish I could provide a matching game with these instruments and their names I wish I could provide, and there's not like a worksheet out there or a thing out there. So when you ask me what's coming next, that's a possibility. I'm also kind of toying with some merchandise. I just don't know that I have the reach to actually do that, but I have my lovely t-shirt that I'm modeling
Oh,
to
that's cute.
my PBJamz. And so, and my mug. So I do have a few little,
That's great.
so fun, right? And so that's a possibility. I just don't know if I have enough reach to make that worth my while, but also the possibility, especially as I retire, I might dig into creating some specific resources that go with the books that you're not going to find anywhere else. But beyond that, and barring that, if nothing else happens, I really hope that I'm still just providing this avenue 2 years from now. Wow, 2 years from now, my book's going to be out. So that's kind
Yes,
of
you have to.
think about. I've had several people that have said, Reika being one of them, and a couple more who have said, well, we want to interview you when your book comes out. So I'm thinking about something similar to this for, when my book does come out, as a kind of a PBJamz launch for my book. So I hope that you guys will come back and join me for that.
Yeah.
But I just hope, it's always fun to me to see, as a matter of fact, it was Jen Jasinski who actually was talking about the peanut butter and jelly recipes. And like, I think it's just literally icing on the cake. For me, it was just a fun way to pay tribute to how I came up with the idea of PBJamz. It's like, oh, PB and jam, peanut butter and jam. Oh, peanut butter, picture books. Oh, jam, music. So that's like a crazy thing, but that's where it all came from. And so that's just my way of giving a nod. And I think it's super fun, but I don't think most people just don't pay it any attention. And so it's so fun to me when Jen goes, oh my gosh, those blondies were amazing.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
And she got so excited when I put a cake, she had talked about how much she loved cake. And so I did a peanut butter and jelly cake. And I don't create those recipes. I look for them online, and I have a whole Pinterest board of peanut butter and jam snack recipes. And so I just go and pull from those. And I always try to give those people credit for those wonderful recipes. But it's just fun to me. So I just hope I'm keeping on doing it. I don't know.
Good.
Well, I'm going to throw an idea out there from my musical theater background. I think you should do a scripted show with actors dressed up as those characters, going into a library. You have the peanut, and then is it like the strawberry? And then they're going to do your cute little jams, PBJamz. Yeah. And then they're going to read aloud. They're going to read a lot of book and get people seeing it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to help you turn it into a musical.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Can you recruit some of your students for that?
Put it out into the world.
That would be fun. Yeah, that would be fun. I will say I have this real pipe dream, and that's right now all it is. But I do have a pipe dream. Well, I say it's a pipe dream, maybe not so much really. But the summer that my book comes out, I'm hoping to do a cross-country book tour. And Shane and I've been kind of playing around with the PBJamz summer tour.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's something that I have thought for a long time would be super fun, would be to do like a concert circuit, and just pulling local musicians and picture book authors and just doing literally a big PBJam in different
fun.
locations. I do think that'd be super fun.
Kind of like Garrison Keillor.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, there's lots of possibilities, and there's only so much time and so much money and so much of the things that create those things. But it is it's been super fun, and I hope I'll keep doing it for a long time. And before we close out, I do want to go back to Jolene's idea that she said earlier. This has become just a really huge platform for me recently, and that is that picture books are for everyone. They're not just for little kids, they are for us as adults. I mean, I sat today, I have story time tomorrow at the museum, and I was trying to find a book, and our theme is teddy bears for this month. And so I was reading a bunch of teddy bear books today at my lunchtime, and I was reading, it's by David McPhail. It may just be called teddy bear. But I was reading through that book and I was like, oh, this is so sweet. This is so beautiful. And then I got to the page and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I can't read that out loud. I will cry. And so but it was so touching. And so my friend Nikki, our school librarian, she goes, oh, I'm gonna have to read that now, and picture books are for everyone, every single body. And I've been sharing about this guy that I have come across on Instagram. You guys may know him already. But it's Oliver James. He goes by Oliver Speaks. That's his call name on Instagram. Oliver is a young Black man who in his 30s determined, he's like, I don't know how to read. Like, I'm functionally illiterate. He was identified as special needs in school. He kind of fell through the cracks, didn't have the greatest home life. I mean, just struggled. And as a married 30 something, he realized all the things I'm getting chills, y'all. He just kills me. He realized that he was missing out on so much by not being able to really truly read. He is teaching himself to read. He's up to about a 5th grade reading level. He goes on Instagram every day and reads something out loud on Instagram. He is so vulnerable and so transparent. And he had a conversation with a librarian from I think from SoCal. His name's Michael Threets, I think is his name. You probably, Jolene, you've seen Michael. Michael's awesome too. But he and Michael had this conversation, and Oliver was saying, he was talking about what reading has given him as an adult. And I think this is a perspective. This doesn't specifically relate to picture books, but I think this is just a perspective that we don't get because we're teaching kids to read and they don't have the maturity or the world knowledge to understand what a gift we're giving them when we help them learn to read. But Oliver is an adult who lived for a long time without really being able to read, and now he can read. And he talks about the beauty. Just look up this conversation. It was such an amazing conversation. Michael, Mychal, Michael Threets, and James, Oliver Speaks. It was just an incredible conversation and so valuable to hear from an adult perspective how reading has changed his life and what doors it has opened for him. And so I just want to echo again what Jolene has said. And please, teachers, if you're watching, do not be one of those teachers who says those are baby books and you're too old for them. Don't do that, because picture books are for everyone. And they're, of course, you need to stretch them and grow them. I get it. But don't take away the picture books, because they will keep learning from picture books until they are in the grave if you let them.
I know a local librarian who labels her shelves "Everybody Books." You know, the picture book section is, and I think a lot of librarians do that now. But
that's great.
They're also like when there's a topic that's really heavy, you know, difficult. A picture book is such a great way in, and I think adults too. You can come away from them still with a sense of optimism about. You know, that you might not necessarily get when reading something adult book. So they're so valuable that way too.
So true. So true.
They're great for bibliotherapy, and many of them are written at a pretty high reading level. And written beautifully, like we've already discussed, the lyrical piece, you know. So there's so much to take from them.
And I still get a lot. Like I recently got Zap Clap Boom, read by Laura Purdy Salas and Ellie McKay. And I love anything that has like onomatopoeia, has that musical element and that musical quality. But, you know, you learn about thunderstorms and the science behind them as an adult. I think one of the Jeopardy contestants who said he learned so much from going to the nonfiction picture book section in his library. And, it was the one who James, somebody who won all the the
Yeah.
Jeopardy shows for so long. He said he really relied on the picture books to
Yeah.
get him
Yeah.
up to speed.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, because it's so distilled because we're writing for little people. And whether you're
Mhm.
talking
Yeah.
about heavy emotionally or heavy content wise, both picture books are great because they do distill down
Yeah.
the smallest bits of knowledge that you need to be able to understand that big concept, So yeah, they're really it's so valuable and so fun. And then when you add music, I mean, it's just a no-brainer, folks.
Mhm. Yep.
Just a no-brainer. So
Yeah.
get you some music, get you some picture books, and have your very own jam. That's just how it rolls. Yeah. Yeah, well, you guys have been absolutely fabulous. It's wonderful talking with you individually, but I have to say, this has been so lovely hearing all the feedback back and forth and getting you guys together. So thank you for coming to celebrate picture books and music and 2 years of PBJamz and
Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, guys.
Tani.
Yes. And
Yeah.
thank you, everybody who's joined us for this fun, grand conversation about picture books and music, all about PBJamz. And I hope that you will join us next time and all the times to come for PBJamz.
Yummy books and music, PBJamz. Reading, writing, teaching, PBJamz. What a yummy treat, jamming PBs all the time, PBJamz. Jams, 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 picture books and jams. We'll see you next time for PBJamz.